Yeah, hopefully you can catch anything for the next slide or something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I never read the bus because I never read the bus. That's stressful.
No, yeah. Even in the winter, I'm like, I got nice jackets.
I like snow.
Except it does get really icy, so pro tip, so for the last year I wiped out because they don't like the court, so it's really dangerous. And so thank gosh I like landed on my butt, maybe not my face, but definitely something to keep in mind for the certain skin cold.
Take as much as you want.
We have a big bag.
I've got a bunch.
Yeah, take the survey, but however, we're taking attendance today.
Yeah, I'm
Go to the shop
still
downstairs.
I still want to fill up the study as a tool like that. So yeah, the ISU get a soda.
If not, they'll just start leaving.
She would be there. He would probably hear us.
Actually, we don't have to.
Come close,
Alex,
if you like. Oh.
Just have they don't have to link Dr. Parker. Yes, she's one of my I have to confirm it, and she also serves as a member for another. So yeah, that's why how I know. No, that's.
I think the other one's okay. I think it's loud.
We have 5 drops.
Okay, so that was okay. Oh, sorry. Oops. We all set? I'm just doing the ball. To what? That'd be nice, honestly, really.
Your average score is 75%. Oh, it's actually for top. I thought it was for registration. I don't know if I top for homework it also. applies to- I haven't needed it like.
Okay. Actually, for a while. You wanted to make sure. Sounds good. It's still yeah.
It's like, this would be like the second time in 2 days. Yeah.
All right, welcome everybody. So my name is Julie Rosa and I am the chair of the First Amendment Committee. And our committee each year has the privilege of planning News Engagement Day, which is a day dedicated to us to think about our engagement in the news, keeping up on the news and how important the news is in our lives. And we're really excited this year to have a focus on global journalism. And we have with us a student panel today with 3 very special panelists and our host, Dr. Dimitrova from the Greening School. I'm going to actually turn the microphone over to Dr. Daniela and let her tell you a little bit more about some of the background for what brings us here together today. But I do want to welcome you and thank you for being here.
Great, well, thank you, Professor Russo. And we are thrilled to be here today as part of News Engagement Day. And I want to thank all the students who made it. And if we have any online panelists or other audience members joining us, this is fantastic. The topic of today is News Engagement Day, which is a national celebration here in the United States. And it started through AEJMC a few years back. And what we decided to do this year is to actually make the focus of News Engagement Day more global. So the topic today is kind of global journalism news engagement. And I'm so pleased that we have 3 students, former or current Greening students, who will share with us a little bit about news engagement in their countries. And of course, I'm really looking forward to getting some questions from you guys. If you're curious to kind of compare how you get the news here in the United States versus how they get their news in a different country, or maybe here as a foreign national trying to reach news or get engaged with news from another country. So please don't be shy. There will be a lot of time for questions and engagement in the room and also online. I do have some questions prepared, so we'll start with that, but I'm really looking forward to the conversation and hoping to get us more interactive in this session. And so now it is my pleasure to introduce the 2 people here and one person who is joining us, we hope, online. To the left here is Annie Banda, who was a Greenwich master student a few years ago. She finished that and is now a PhD student in HDFS here on campus. And so she will share a little bit about her background and her country of origin, which is Malawi and the media in Malawi. So we are very excited to get Annie here. Next to her is Mia Chan, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing the name, but she goes by Mia. She was a Greenwich undergraduate student, and she majored in advertising and journalism, and now she's a Greenwich school master's student. So she's in the master's program, so she has a lot of experience as an undergrad and grad student, and she's originally from China, so we're very curious to learn a little bit about news in China, or maybe getting engaged with the news from China here in the United States. And then online, I'm looking at the screen. We are hoping to have Omar Shibat Al-Kamal. He is a Greenly alum, and he was actually an undergrad. Oh, hi, Omar. I hope you can hear us. This is Daniela Dimitrova. I'm your moderator today. Great. He's waiting so he can hear us. I'll briefly introduce you, and then when we ask the questions, you can join. But Omar was a major here in advertising, graduated a few years ago, and now is back in Saudi Arabia, working for an advertising agency. So that will be an interesting perspective too, where he can talk about journalism, but he can also speak a little bit about kind of the advertising agency work and this cross-cultural translation that he has to do in his position, promoting media products in the region as a whole. So we're very excited to have you here, Omar, and thank you for joining us. I know it's probably, 8 p.m., a little bit later right now in Saudi Arabia, so we appreciate your time. The reason why we decided to focus on global journalism is actually this book that I finished and published this year, about 2 years in the making, and the book is titled Global Journalism. And some of these wonderful panelists have actually heard a little bit about the book and the content as well from classes here in Greenly. And for those of you who made it here today, I would like to invite you after this session. We have a reception for the book downstairs, 2 to 4 p.m. If you guys are around and would like to join us, please do. So with that, I would like to start with the first question, which is, can you tell us just a little bit about how you ended up at Iowa State, and maybe share a little bit about how you get the news as an international student here. So Amy, would you like to start?
Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you for the invitation to this event. I come from Malawi. My name is Annie Badger, as you've already heard. Basically, in my country, from the time the country was a one-party system, that is when we got independence in 1964 to 1994, we were a one-party system. And being a one-party system, it had its own ways of controlling information that people got in my country. And basically, the control was that we only had one set radio station by then, and also we did not have any television. So you can just imagine, up to 1994, we didn't have any television in my country. So that was quite a very restrictive control that the government had actually implemented. But in 1994, we got a multi-party system, and from then we saw blossoming of other radio stations and also television. And basically in my country, the most source of news that people depend on in the rural areas is basically the radio station, and maybe in mostly like urban areas, there's now several televisions that have come up. People are able to get news from the television, and also we basically depend on two newspapers, which is the national publication and the Daily Times. The Daily Times has been the one that has been there since for over maybe 100 years. So, and the national publications just came in after maybe the multi-party system, which kind of beefed up some of private newspapers that are in the country. So basically in my country, people depend so much on the state television when they want to confirm something that has happened in the country. So that's what I can basically say at the moment. And during the one-party system, it was like the media that was kind of driving the agenda that the news would be on. But after the coming in of the multi-party system, we now have like people are really driving the news that is happening in my country. Yeah, take for example, in my country, there's been a time that we lost our third president, that was Bingu Mutharika, because there was so much kind of like control in the country. People did not even know about the death of the president until after 3 days. He died on April 5, 2012. There were just speculations. No news was being broadcast. There was just a lead on the news. Everybody was talking about it, but nobody would actually confirm that the president had really died. So it really took 3 days for the country to actually know that the president was no more. So that's how the kind of news that is there, it is sometimes controlled by the state itself. But nowadays, I can say that people are somehow coming in to control the news agenda. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Amy. And this is such a fascinating example. Maybe we'll come back to that. But now let's go to Mia. And Cather, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Mia. I'm from China. As Dr. Di said, I also get my bachelor degree here. The reason I came to US for college is many reasons. First of them is the Chinese college entry exam is really difficult. It's not as the SAT or ACT here, where you prepare for a couple of months, some semester, and take it. If you're not satisfied with the result, you take it again. But in China, the students start to prepare for the exam a year and a half prior. And then they just study day and night and they take the test. It's almost everything is on the test. If you fail, you have to wait a year, go back to college, go back to high school, and then spend another year and a half, and then you get to take it again. So I don't want to suffer through that. I'm not a really good exam taker, so I'm thinking maybe I can find alternative way to go to college. And the second is the journalism environment in China is not very free. And maybe some of you already know. And I want to be a journalist since I was in middle school. So I'm thinking if I want to get the most freedom and I want to get be a journalist, maybe a country like America is a more suitable way to do it. And the reason I chose Iowa is because in China, there's like a lot of stereotype about America and how dangerous it is, how they're mass shooting every day, which was kind of true. But we my parents sit together. Okay, let's look up online, which is the safest state, safest school in America. And then some pop up, and then the Greenlee program is the one that caught my eye. So that's how I end up here. And the second question is how we get our news here. How I get news is I follow I have a Apple News subscription. So that's the main way. And then social media, basically. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mia. Now I would like to go to our third student panelist, and Omar, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself and share a little bit about your background. Hi.
Yes, hi. So my name is Omar. Hi, Jay. About myself, I went to Iowa State. Obviously, graduated in 2018. I had no intention in becoming a journalist nor a creative copywriter, which is what I do today. I actually came to this United States to become an architect. After studying for 2.5 years here in Saudi Arabia to become an architect, and then realized that I was not good, so I had to switch. Luckily, I found a good advisor who told me all about advertising and the media in general, and then Jay, obviously, Dr. Newell was my academic advisor, and he kind of showed me the ropes and guided me through the years at Iowa. And it was a difficult decision to make, but one that has really rewrote all my history and future in a good way. So that's the first part of the question. The second one, I think I I like to think that I'm an old-fashioned guy. I used to enjoy reading the news from a physical newspaper. Whenever I was when I was at Greenlee, I really enjoyed the Iowa State Daily. I would always grab my copy and just scroll through it and read it. Obviously, with COVID today and the international switch to a more online news, culture, I think we all get the news today from get them online. But I think the interesting thing about how we get news here. So if I wanted to know something that's international or something that is United States related, I would go on Twitter or Instagram and check CNN or Fox or, whatever the media source that I'm looking for. But if it's something local, there's this Twitter account called Saudi News. It wasn't official, but somehow the people just agreed upon it and it became the official news source of the kingdom, which is quite odd, but so we still have newspapers, but no one really talks about them anymore. We just talk about Saudi News or that influencer on Snapchat that always posts news. So this is mainly where we get the news today. Obviously, you have the rumors that travel around. Yeah, they're going to do that. No, but yeah. So these are the main sources.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Amar. And one thing I didn't mention, if you guys are on Twitter, you can use hashtag #ISUFirst or #YGreenlee. You can also use hashtag global journalism if you would like to ask questions or take pictures or tag anybody in here. So please be encouraged. We have a great group of honor students here with Eva in the room. So I encourage you guys to engage with technology. And since at least two of our panelists mentioned technology, I think I'm going to ask the next question about social media and about technology. So is that a factor in your country? What are the most popular platforms? Do people use Facebook? Maybe not. We had a big, Facebook shutdown. Was that even a factor? So talk a little bit about social media use for news in your country of origin. So Annie.
Wow, thank you very much. Yes, social media, basically like WhatsApp, has really played a very big role in my country. Yeah, since as I've already talked about, now we are in the multi-party era. We had elections in 2019, but people did not believe that the elections were fair as such. So the opposition party actually went to court and found a case that the election should be nullified. So what actually happened is social media actually played a very big role. People actually, like the human rights organizations, they use the platform, the WhatsApp to organize people. And 2019 in my country was one of the years where it was a year for demonstrations. The media would actually organize almost 1 million people walking the roads of Malawi just because of WhatsApp. And the government could not even stop it. They tried to stop it, to scare people, don't go, but people came in multitudes. The more they tried to stop them, the more they came. And technology actually also helped to engage like youngsters, teenagers, because youngsters do not really want to listen to news on the television or read newspapers, but just online and using WhatsApp. And youngsters in my country, we are so much involved in politics. Well, it excited them possibly. And so they'll come in multitudes, attend meetings, and with whatever happened, people really followed the cases through media like Facebook. But in my country, of course, it's Facebook may be maybe associated with maybe people that have so much gone to school, but with WhatsApp, even people in the villages are able to access like WhatsApp. So that's one of the things about WhatsApp. So people had been following everything that had been happening from like filing cases and going to court. People would post everything on social media, and the government then, because they controlled the state television, they controlled the state radio stations, but they could not control social media. So with that, they failed to control everyone, and the court case was followed with keen interest from all quarters. And for the first time in Africa, we had our country that had nullified the elections that went on in 2019. And we had a new election again, and the opposition actually won the elections. So that's how powerful the technology has been in my country. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing. So that's interesting. WhatsApp is really a big factor in kind of promoting social change and getting people out in the street. So wow, that's fascinating. Mia, what about China?
Yeah, so in China, we cannot use any internationally available social media platform. Okay, the ones I can think of is Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. And yeah, we cannot use it. I think the ban came in effect in 2014, 2013, around that era, when the new chairman got elected. Actually, in China, it's not an election. It's kind of complicated how they choose a chairman. We have a representative of a community, and the representative get together and form a larger representation community. And those representatives, they select a chairman, which was kind of already decided within the party. So yeah, that's how and the new chairman did not like the Chinese people get their news outside of China. So they put a ban, like a firewall around China. And you can still get access to it if you find a way to use a VPN. But now China is gradually banning. They are trying to find a way to ban VPN also. So the technology has to, all the people who work on those have to come up with new ways, find loopholes to create new ones so people can use. So the technology, the social media platform Chinese audience news readers do use is a platform similar to Twitter. It's called Weibo. I don't know if you guys heard it. Yeah, Weibo, and also WeChat. So those are the two main pathways people can get news. So the different news organizations have their official accounts on those two platforms, and yeah, that's what they report. And there's a limited topic what they can report. They cannot criticize government officials, and all the TV news organization on TV, a majority of them are owned by government. There's a little to no private news organizations, and if they do, they're basically the online platform, and they can only report the things that don't get them in trouble. Because China does jail the most journalists worldwide, and we also have a lot of people, so that might be a factor too. And yeah, it's actually not the government, federal government, tell them what to do, what to report, what to not report. It's a lot of self-censorship. So yeah, that's the big thing. People, journalists get scared. They will think, what if I report this one? We'll end up in jail. Okay, let's just move on to the next topic. Actually, when I first came here, I joined Iowa State Daily. The first story I wrote is about an Egyptian student got strip searched at the international airport in Chicago or Los Angeles. So yeah, I interviewed him, did a report, wrote a story, and I'm so happy I told my dad that I get my first story published, and my dad said, "Are you not gonna get in trouble for writing that? You can't write a story like that?" I said, yes, I can. And yeah, so that's the situation now, right there. So the demonstration in your country, yeah, we're not allowed to have that. We cannot have a protest. If a funny story that broke out like years ago, a young man tried to propose to his girlfriend. And he organized a big party, all both sides of family, and he actually got arrested because he organized too many people. The government thought he's gonna do something, and actually you have to get permit if you want to do an organization like that. You can just do these too many people, make people nervous. Yeah.
That's an interesting story. So you know somebody's monitoring, right, those social media online channels. So I guess in China, no Twitter, we have Weibo and WeChat. And
Yeah, you
so-
can easily get banned on those platforms if you say something, if you re-share a post the platform does not like, they will ban you or delete your account altogether.
Very different. So if you guys want to come back to this and ask questions later, Mia is here, but maybe it is different, maybe it is similar, because I can think of some US politicians who have been banned from some social media channels. So that's just a side note. I would like to go to Ahmad now and have him talk a little bit about technology. Ahmad?
Yes, hi. I'm going to be honest. I kind of didn't get the question accurately. So would you mind just?
Sure. The question was just about the impact of technology and social media in your country. So you can speak about, changes in your country, or maybe what are the most popular platforms? Are they the same as the US platforms? Anything along those lines?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think again, the technology, maybe I have my own view about the technology in general, and that's why I'm always enforcing it, that the world is becoming one small village using the especially social media today. It's funny that WhatsApp was mentioned, because earlier when I was talking about the news outlets, so we have this culture here in Saudi Arabia where WhatsApp is mainly associated with older people who share rumors and fake news that, I always make a joke with my friends that I can probably, create a new planet just by sending it to one of my, relatives and say, hey, someone discovered the new planet called blah, blah, blah. And then overnight, it would be a news piece in the kingdom because of people just not checking the facts behind the question, behind the news, and just sharing them around. So yeah, that's WhatsApp is huge here in the kingdom. The weird thing is Facebook is definitely not. So when Facebook was down, well, to us it was last night. Yeah, no one cared. But as soon as that affected Instagram and WhatsApp, it was just almost a riot, because yeah, Instagram and WhatsApp are probably, and Snapchat obviously are probably the third, fourth, and actually second, third, fourth most used apps. Strangely, the most dominant news, or like I said, it's basically the news outlet in the kingdom, which is Twitter. It's quite commonly used. It's almost a crime not to own a Twitter account here. So people are always just shocked when I say I don't really use it. Yeah, that's I think the role that the technology played in the kingdom, I think it's beyond describing, because as we all know, Saudi Arabia is a monarchy, it's a kingdom, and quite similarly to China, and it used to be, the media used to be, let's call it what it is, controlled by the media, by the government. Whereas today it's far more free to actually give people the actual news. So I think in the past 2 weeks, something that used to be unheard of happened, which is a very highly ranked officer or lieutenant in the military was fired and charged with corruption. And he was named, he was actually mentioned by name, that this specific person was fired for corruption. He will be trialed or prosecuted. And that's something that is quite strange in the kingdom, or at least used to be strange, whereas nowadays we're quite used to it. I think a few years ago, a bunch of highly known people, including princes from the royal family, were detained for corruption charges. Quite famously, we call it the Ritz incident. They were detained in one of the best hotels in the world. That's just, sorry about that. But yeah, they were mentioned by name that these specific people are, they're allegedly corrupted people who have embezzled or stolen and whatnot. And yeah, it used to be, it was a shock for people because usually we're not used to, people outed this way. Yeah, so I think social media played a huge role in this change, because I think they figured that people are going to know one way or another, so we might as well just break it to them. So yeah, I think that summarizes it.
Very nice. Thank you, Omar. Now I'd like to ask kind of a more theoretical question or a big picture question, and of all of our three panelists. And I'd like you guys to talk a little bit about the purpose of journalism and what it means to be a journalist in your country. Is there a different understanding? Do journalists believe like their purpose is this? What do the people, the audience think journalists should do, how they should operate? So if anyone would like to jump in and share, because I think, we are coming from a US-based perspective, right? Then we have the First Amendment. We think of journalists as watchdogs on the government. So is it similar or different? Or if it's different, how is it different in your country?
Okay, I'll jump in.
Okay.
Well, basically, I should say the books that we use, they are basically the same books. So the concepts that we learn or journalists learn in my country and elsewhere, they're basically the same. But now, what goes on the ground as a journalist is what actually differentiates how a journalist will actually report what they're seeing. Yeah. So my country is a developing country, and the US is also a very developed country. So just like here, I was really shocked when I came here in 2018. I love foreign current affairs, and when I turned on to CNN, I would see that CNN would present news in a different way, and you tend to Fox News, they would actually present the same event in a different way. If you even turn out to maybe watch how CNN has actually been covering maybe the January 6th events and how Fox actually does present the facts, they're kind of different, but all of the journalists were at the same event. Why is it like that? One is because of the thing is who owns the media? Who are they working for? So that is one of the driving factors. And also the state itself comes into play itself. I'll take, for example, in my country, I'll take the issue of the LGBTQ. When it first happened in the country, there was this other country, remember it, but then we had our third president that was around maybe 2010 or 11 or something. So this couple, they came out as lesbian and the gays, and they were trying to get married. So it was quite a shock. You can understand, like, in a country where there's never been anything like that, and culturally it's not accepted. From the state itself, it's not accepted. The laws, they don't accept it. And even culturally, back home, your mother's fathers, they don't accept it. And nobody does accept it. And possibly even the media, they don't even want to report about it. So this couple actually came out that they are gay and they're getting married. And guess what happened? We found out that the president actually came out and said, I don't want any journalists to actually report anything about this event. So the state itself can actually hamper how journalists can want to report how things are coming out. You might have the concept, this is what I need to do. But sometimes your hands are tied, you can't do that. The president says, if you do that, you're in trouble. And even your job is at stake. So these are some of the things. The concepts that we live are the same, but the environment that we work in, they are different. Yeah, she talked about how in China they say you can't report on such things. In my country too, then you could not report. But what also happened is because we don't live in like in isolation, we are in a global village, and we are also like, people tend to learn about how things happen in other countries. So they want to kind of like test the waters. Okay, in such places, they are doing such, let us also do such. So that being said, the international laws, they tried to force like Malawi, you cannot bar people from expressing who they are. So they kind of came so hard on Malawi that that was bad to like bar anyone to actually talk about the gay marriages. And actually at that time, these people, they were actually arrested and put in prison, and because they were threats internationally that they would maybe sanction the country, these people were actually released, and some of them they free out of the country. So this is what actually happens. Concepts are the same, but the context in which you operate as a journalist will actually determine what you're going to report. It's not only effective in my country, but it's also effective even in countries where we see that we believe there's democracy. It also happens here in the US. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Annie. If anyone is tweeting, I can imagine they can say something like, context matters, journalistic concepts are the same, but context matters, including economic and cultural kinds of factors and topics. So I think that's very interesting. Mia, would you like to share something?
Yes, sure. Yeah, I agree with Annie. I came to the US when I was a teenager, so I did not go to the university in China. But I think the media theories, media ethics, how you report, the techniques are all taught the same way. They show you how to report. But the issue is when you get out of college and when you find a job, yeah, that's kind of Fox, CNN, I think in America, like almost all news organizations have their own agenda, have their own ideology, their goal is how are they going to go about influence their targeted audience. And in China, yes, people go into news organizations, they want to do good journalism. We are allowed to report a serious hard news, but it's just certain topics you kind of avoid. So yeah, I think it's quite similar in the US. Journalists want to find out the truth, want to report serious issues. It's just their freedom is kind of limited. I think one of the good things happened in recent years is when the coronavirus first broke out. That's when the news organization played a huge role in China. They kind of stopped being scared almost. They start to criticize the government of Wuhan is the city when it first break out. They are questioning the mayor, questioning the leadership positions. Yes, that's kind of I guess if a really serious issue when all the public, all the people are kind of angry on how the government handled the issue, yes, that's when the kind of freedom is here. But usually if it's just an issue when a corruption or some onto the ground things, yeah, that's when it's come to journalism's limitation and self-censorship.
Very nice. Thank you, Mia. And I think COVID is a really interesting example, and maybe we have a chance to come back to that and talk about how COVID has impacted journalistic freedoms, not only internationally, but also in the US. But let's see if Omar would like to add anything on this notion of how journalism is understood and practiced in your country.
I think being a journalist is a universal role that, philosophically, journalist, your job is to find out the truth about something, or just basically tell people, spread the word about something specific. It doesn't matter if
We might be having a little bit of a technical issue, so while we're waiting for Omar to come back, I want to ask the audience, our wonderful honor students here, do you guys want to throw in a question or something that sparked your interest that was just mentioned? Feel free. Go ahead.
I have a specific question. So you're talking about like how in Malawi, television, like the news, it was very one-sided when it was a one-party system, but now it's a two-party system. But you were still talking about how when you came here and saw the news stations like CNN and Fox always offering different perspectives, does that still mean it's kind of like one-sided, how news is presented on the TV in Malawi, like still kind of controlled by the government, like with an agenda?
That's a really interesting question. I think what Annie was saying earlier, at least what I understood, is that here we see in the US, we see more this economic kind of impact and audience segmentation, maybe. So, Fox is appealing to a certain audience, so they're sort of highlighting and promoting certain aspects of the same news story, versus CNN, maybe they're targeting, we get some professors here in the audience who are experts and they can chime in, but CNN may be targeting a different audience, right? And so they are, maybe putting a different slant to the same story. But yeah, I guess the question for Yanni would be, do you see more diversity in television news in Malawi today, or do you see less control of the television by the government?
Thank you for that question. Basically, at the moment, with the new party that has come in, basically they are only not two parties. There are several. Maybe they are around maybe 9 or so small parties, and they've made an alliance. I think 7 parties have made an alliance, and they are the ones that are like in the government at the moment, and the former Democratic Progressive Party is now in the opposition. So what has happened at the moment is like the new government that is in, because it's more of diverse parties. The text television is now more open. People are now getting more news that is diverse, and that is reporting more on what has really happened, which is not basically like the government is trying to shut down like information. It's now very open, I believe, because of the new era we are in now, because of there's no stronghold of one party trying to control the information. And I can also cite like information about what happened during still the one party when the DPP government was still in there. They still tried to control the news about the elections. They were portraying like they are winning, but now the then opposition party, which is now in here, they kind of used so much of the private media, and everybody was tuning in to that private media, like the one that is called Zodiac, and they would believe more of what the private media was talking about, because they kind of now lost trust in the state media, because they overtrained showed that what the state television or the state TV was actually giving them wasn't the reality on the ground. So people tend to switch onto the other channels that they can believe in. I also just talked about the time that the president had died. Then people actually believed the difference was like, okay, we need to hear it from the state television. So it depends on the times. At that time, people really believed like, okay, if the president is dead, then we should hear it from the state television. They don't want to hear the same news first from a private media. They wouldn't really believe it, because they have an interest in what is happening with the health of the president. So the state television was the one that was mandated or believed to be the one that is going to give true information about what is happening to the president. But in other sectors where people believe that, okay, the state media is not giving us true information, so the audience will automatically switch on to maybe a private media, which is going to give them what they believe is happening in the country. So that's how I can answer that one. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Go ahead, another student question. I love it.
Yeah, so our class is based, it's all about, our theme is called Disappearances, Deaths, and Other Dangerous Activities. So we talk a lot about different kind of heavy topics, but I wanted to get your guys' take. In the United States, we kind of have almost an obsession, especially when white women go missing. The media kind of attaches onto that, and we follow it really heavily for several weeks. I was curious, in your countries, is there a similar phenomenon that happens with certain crimes or groups of people?
Well, if I may get your question right, is the focus on kind of people of different races, or what? How should I tackle your question? Like,
in your country, does the media focus heavily on a specific type of crime?
It's about crime reporting, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe me or Omar, you have observations. Is that even a thing?
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to China. Sometimes the police doesn't care about solving a case, they push it back, and sometimes it's almost you only get a case solved if it gained public traction on social media, right? That's why the Gary Petito case it has been, so many people are following it, and a lot of information on that. And in China, we do not have other races, so it's just Asians. And I think in the southern part, there are some African American population, but that's pretty much really a small community. And so if we're talking about crime reporting in recent years, the violence on women is a big topic. We've been seeing a lot of spouse/boyfriend, ex-boyfriend on the woman type of issue. That's the thing that have been getting tractions lately. But if we're talking about specific crimes that really get a lot of coverage, not as prominent as you see in America, when a white blonde girl gone missing. Yes, that's although we have a recent discourse in China has been like the Chinese people and the government treating foreigners better than they treating their own people. So that's the thing. If you're white, blue-eyed in China, you'll be so popular. Everyone wants to talk to you. They love you. They want to take photos with you, and they think you're so pretty. And so because colorism in China is a factor because we don't have really races. Yeah, they like fair people. They like blue-eyed. That's so exotic. They love that. And then there's a joke when a foreigner lost a bike in China. And the police department found it within 12 hours, where a Chinese baby lost a bike. Okay, here's a report. Maybe you can file some insurance. And that's pretty much it. That's it. So if you guys want to travel to China, it's a really safe country. They are so good to foreigners. There are not a lot of limitations on freedom. It's a safe country to go.
Fantastic. And maybe this is a nice transition to my last question, which was kind of about advice to US students visiting China, what to expect, maybe give them some tips or maybe some recommendations of what to expect from the media and the environment as a whole. So let's see if we can hear from Amy and Mia, and then hopefully Omar will be back and offer his kind of final thoughts on advice and expectations. So Annie, I don't think any of us have been to Malawi, so what would you say?
Malawi is popularly known as the warm heart of Africa. And just like my friend here said, Malawians are so kind when they kind of meet with foreigners. They would like, they want to really kind of help. Like they are so forthcoming. They want to go an extra mile. We are just so much known about being so kind. It's like we have like unlimited time when we come to like kind of associating with foreigners. It's like we don't have the same 24 hours. It's like you go an extra mile to help them. So Malawi itself, it's a country that is known for its natural resources. We have very good waters, fresh waters, which contain about 450 species. We have foreigners that come to the country. They come and see our mountains, and they go on the sea itself. So Malawi is kind of a very, very beautiful country. And I can say that the only thing is sometimes when the Western media try to cover countries like in Africa, they tend to focus on things that are more negative, but Africa is not basically maybe the way you might think the media portrays it, like, it's full of people that are hungry, they are malnourished, if you can see me, I'm not malnourished, I'm a very tall woman, energetic. So we have diverse people in my country. People, so people are educated, not all of them though, and it's not that people don't have sometimes the pictures that you see, they find a picture where there is a dead kid, and maybe flies are flying over the kid, but that's not like the common sight that you see in Africa or even maybe in my country, despite that my country is one of the poorest countries, but the focus area of the media, when they want to show how Africa is, they tend to just focus on a small sector. But we have universities, we have beautiful infrastructure in my country. So it depends on the kind of media that is shown. And you are very much welcome to my country. And when you go to my country, you may not find it very difficult to kind of communicate, because we start learning English from the time you get to school, we learn in English. So most of the people, they kind of know some words in English. So it's a country that you can easily like integrate. And we do have foreigners that go there and they choose it to be like their home. So that's what I can say about my country. Thank you very much.
Fascinating. I want to visit now. I can't wait, but also watch out for stereotypes and what you see in the media, especially in the coverage of Africa. So thank you for that, Annie. Mia, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is, yeah, China is a beautiful country and it's so old, has a lot of history. If you're interested in that, maybe after coronavirus passed, and the China has strict rules on foreigners during this time. So maybe when the time passed, you guys can go visit. And so good food, good views, tourist sites, so well developed. So it's convenient, and people are so warm. If you look like you are so yes, it's a great country to visit. And what may be surprising to you about journalism media is you might not be able to use all your social media platforms. So yeah, that's the thing. Try to find a VPN or not. Download the WeChat and ask your family to download WeChat so you can talk to them. Yes, that's pretty much it. And yeah, it's not as scary as one example came to mind is the American student traveled to North Korea and stole a banner and surely died after this. Yeah, this is not as scary as that. Just be a normal tourist and you'll be good.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Mia. Omar, do we have you back? Any final thoughts from your end?
Yeah, I have a feeling as soon as I begin talking, it's going to cut off.
Let's give it a try.
Okay. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I think, should people come to Saudi Arabia? Heck yeah. I think you should come as soon as you can in October, towards the end of October. Saudi Arabia has changed dramatically over the past 3, 4, 5 years. When I came to visit Saudi Arabia, I think it was 2015 or 2016. And then I went back to the US and then I came back in 2018 and I was shocked by how different it looked and how different the people were. Media that it has and produces has changed dramatically over the past few years. I'm saying you should come in late October because Saudi Arabia has created the General Authority of Tourism and the General Authority of Entertainment. Now, these two semi-government entities are only in charge of making people have fun. So yeah, if you come in probably the end of October, maybe mid-November, we have something that's called the season of Riyadh, and the season of the specific place of the kingdom. You have live music. We have, I'm not sure if you guys have been to London. They have something that's called the Winter Wonderland. We have that here. It's huge. It was here 2 years ago, but then last year, because of COVID, obviously, it was all terminated and canceled. This year it's going to be, sadly for me, it's on my way to work, which means that I'm going to be stuck in traffic daily, but it's fun. So yeah, as for what to expect, I think Mia talked about how people in China are warm, and I think Annie also talked about how people in Malawi speak English. You'll find these two things here in Saudi Arabia. I think mainly because the media content that you will be exposed to here in Saudi Arabia are quite similar to the ones that you are experiencing right now in the US. So especially with Netflix, we watch the same shows that you guys watch, listen to the same music that you guys listen through YouTube and Spotify and all the music apps that have come to the surface. Yeah, it's almost, you know, living in the US and then moving back here, I expected a reverse cultural shock. That did not happen, maybe in the first few weeks, you know, with the head covers and whatnot. But oh yeah, good news for people who, females who want to visit the country. It's no longer obligated to wear the headscarf and the black abaya. So yay. Yeah, it's gonna be fun if you guys visit Saudi Arabia. And if anyone has any question about Saudi Arabia, I'm here.
Sounds great, Omar. Thank you very much. I'm watching the time and I think it's time to wrap things up. But I'm sure our panelists, if you guys have individual questions or want to reach out to them one-on-one, we'll be happy to answer your question. So let me take this opportunity to thank Julie Russo and the First Amendment Committee in the Green School of Journalism and Communication for putting together this panel. Also the two professors, Dr. Khan and Dr. Newell, who made it to this panel face-to-face. And of course, the biggest thanks go to our panelists, Amy Banda, Mia Jang, and Omar Shital Hamad, who joined us from Saudi Arabia. So thank you guys for attending. Thank you for a great participation.